Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Fixate Binge Podcast. It's another exciting, wonderful week. Most of you, myself included, are probably experiencing what I suspect is a post-Thanksgiving Day hangover. I still have turkey and mashed potatoes. I think my blood type is probably gravy right about now. I am stuffed to the gills. Nevertheless, there's been wonderful things going on here at the Fixate and Binge podcast. I'm so grateful that you're back with us for another week. I've been watching some things, and I want to get really briefly right to that because I have two very excited, extremely talented guests on standby waiting to come on, and wait till you hear where they're tuning in from. So this is kind of interesting. The wonders of the miracle of the internet and the age we live in. Very briefly off the top of my head, no order of importance, I went with my wife and my three kids to go see Wicked for Good, the final follow-up of the wonderful Wicked musical on film, and Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, just fantastic, just great. The songs, fantastic. I'm not a big musical guy, and yet the songs were really electric and catching, and the sets and the costumes and the mise-en-scene and just everything came together to make a very wonderful, immersive experience. So if you're into that sort of thing, and I think you should be, go check it out. It's in cinemas now, and it's a crowd pleaser. Just wonderfully done. No spoilers from me on that. You're doing yourself a favor. It's worth the price of admission on the big screen for sure. The second thing is, like you, I have an 11-year-old daughter, I have a 17-year-old daughter, I have a 20-year-old son, 21-year-old son, and we are all still Stranger Things fanatics. So we're still hooked in. We're pissed we had to wait over 3 years for the 5th season to drop. It's here. We're finally ready. We're enjoying it. We've almost binged the 4 episodes of the new season. And then the last thing is really the best thing. And that is also, unfortunately, also streaming on Netflix is Train Dreams. A beautiful, elegiac, poetic film. I was stunned. I really was stunned. It reminded me of my college days as an English major reading Whitman's Leaves of Grass. It reminded me of bits and pieces of Shakespeare. This is a film about man and nature, and it is told in such a visually mesmerizing layout. If you like the films of Terrence Malick, right? Knight of Cups, A Hidden Life, those wonderful films, the cinematography is just gorgeous. This film, whoever the cinematographer was, his name escapes me. I wrote a review on it. You can read it later. He is fantastic. Most of these scenes seem to take place very deliberately during magic hour at dusk. And that, I think, is the meaning of the film. The real meaning and messaging of the film is so much of our lives are in the twilight. You blink and we're gone. Nothing lasts forever. So there's something beautiful and haunting, and I don't know. I'm going to shut up because I want you to have your own experience checking it out. It is streaming on Netflix. I wish it had a wider cinematic release because the film is just so grand in its messaging. So anyway, enough about that. Guys, I am really, really excited. I have a guest from Hawaii. I have a guest from New York. In 2024, they came together and they made one of the best indie films I've seen. It's called Chaperone. It was made in 2024, like I just said. It was made, I believe, on the Big Island near Hilo. And the writer and director joins me, Zoë Eisenberg, and the star, Mitzi Akaha, is here from New York. So, Mitzi, Zoë, welcome to the Fixate and Binge podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for having us and letting us reunite.
Yeah.
Enough of you these days, Zoe.
Yes.
So Mitzi, you're in Brooklyn, New York right now. Is that right?
At this very moment, I am in Piermont, New York,
okay.
A well-kept secret, a little village about an hour north of New York City, where I'm considering moving.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right. And Zoë, are you on the Big Island?
I am on the Big Island right now. I'm about 20 minutes out of Hilo in Ke'au.
In Ke'au. All right.
Go Cougars. That's our high school team.
That's awesome. I want to get right to it. You guys made this wonderful film, Chaperone. By the way, I wrote a review of it on my Letterboxd account. Um, I really resonated with this film. I thought this film has a very 21st century Western world perspective on things. And I even closed my review of saying, and I say it later, so I'm probably going out of order. I say Misha's character, which you play, Mitzi, I said, she's more sinned against than sinning. And that, of course, is a reference to King Lear, who's not he's an imperfect guy, but the things that happen to him are worse than the things he does. And I really felt that way about your character. I'm like, wow, what a run of terrible bad luck as that film closed on you. I'm going out of order. I'm all over the place. I really, really want to know the origins of this film, Zoe. What was the spark of this idea to make Chaperone about this particular topic?
Yes, the spark of this idea, easy question for me. I was visiting my dad on the East Coast. I have East Coast family. I was working out in a gym, and a high school kid came up to me and started flirting with me and then asked me out to a house party. And at first I was like, what a bold, like baller teenager. I was like 30, I was like, what is he? And then I realized that he thought I was in high school. And I said no immediately, but then I became very fixated, hyper fixated on, who would have said yes, what woman would have said yes, and why. And where I was in my life at that time, I was working in a corporate setting that I just didn't really identify with any of the people around me, any of the other adults around me, and my life, other than my job, didn't really look anything like theirs. And so I kind of started to extrapolate, what kind of corner would this woman have to be in? And if she didn't identify with any of her peers and they were telling her she was doing it wrong, that might have given her a little bit of permission to say yes to something the rest of us would say no to.
That is very concise. Wow. So it came from an actual personal experience. And
yes, but that kid has, I never saw him again. So
okay.
Thank you to that child,
Yes, well, you receive 1% of back end.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
right. That's it. They'll live very wealthy in perpetuity, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yes, indie filmmakers.
Yes. So
rolling in the dough.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I first of all, it goes without saying, that's quite a humble brag to be given such a nice compliment. My wife has never, ever looked her age. When we were dating, I said, please wear glasses. It just adds 3-4 years to you, because it looked like she was 14 years old when she was in her 20s. So,
Yeah.
and by the way, you can't see it, but the gray hair, thank you, Dad, for the genes, the gray and thinning hair. I definitely look my age. My wife still doesn't look her age. And she, from time to time, will still get confused for someone significantly younger than what she is. And I just think that is such a nice thing to hear. Such a nice thing to hear. I had a gay guy in a bar hit on me once, and I was on cloud 9 going home. I'm like, I wasn't interested, of course. I don't, that's not my persuasion, but.
Just flattered.
Oh, it feels
flattering.
good.
Yeah.
It's great to be chosen
Yeah.
and doted on.
That's pretty good. Yeah. So about that story, you kind of touch on it a little bit here, Zoe. What does that story, why does this particular story and this imagining of an alternate universe where there is a Zoe who says, yeah, I'll go to that party. Yeah, let's go have fun. And I'll just carry on this ruse of you thinking I'm your age. What about that story feels urgent in terms of the now, in terms of a story that we might take something away from that today now?
I think a lot of people of my generation, people in their 30s, our lives don't look like the lives our parents had at our age. So I think a lot of us are feeling that, and there's so many reasons for that. So for me, that the story feels quite contemporary for that reason.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. From personal experience, I lived in Hawaii for 8 years. I lived on Oahu for 8 of those years. And the time passes by so quickly. I woke up one day and was late 20s, and I'm like, man, everyone's getting married. Everyone's got fiancés. What am I doing? And I'm over here working the night shift at a Chevron gas station.
Mm-hmm.
On the North Shore. I mean, what am I doing?
Yeah. Well, the cool thing for me about Misha is, everyone else has that perspective. What are you doing? But Misha doesn't have that perspective. And that's something that I see in beach towns, in island towns. She loves where she's from. She loves where she lives. And contemporary Western culture, we're so aspirationally focused. Like, what's next? Driven, what else can we get? And I think when you're on an island, which has, limited, I mean, our glass ceiling is just different, right? We're not moving to a different city to get a different job. And I find that a lot of us, because we love where we live, we're satisfied with what other people view as less. So a lot of people watch the film. It's a great litmus test, because they're like, she is a slacker and this is a slacker film. And I am like, she has held the same job for like 12 years and that is not a slacker. That's not a slacker. So
Yeah.
It is.
Mitzi, I'd love to hear from you. I mean, like, what do you think of the film? What do you think your character is saying about social mores for people around that age? I mean, that's kind of a vague question, but I mean, maybe you can, you can expound on that.
Oh yeah. I mean, for me, like, especially coming out of COVID, I mean, I graduated college coming into an economic like implosion.
Yeah.
Everyone who graduated before me was already getting laid off, and they got like, I studied literature and Japanese language. My friends studied, business, psychology, what have you, like more legitimate sort of career paths, clearer career paths, got great jobs, lost those jobs immediately. Where I'm like, okay, well, already I'm entering a system that's not really set up for not only me, but people who are doing everything the right way. So I've been working against that for a really long time. I see a lot of people also I've been an expat. So I've come up in communities of people who have done things different. And I feel like Misha at this point in her life is sort of like negotiating between, this accepting and sort of growing in confidence in regards to how much she wants to sort of play the game by satisfying everyone's expectations. She's so lucky in that she's been given so much. Everyone around her is disappointed in her. I think she feels that disappointment deeply, but she's also just not understands, I think, on a deeper level that this is just, it's not necessary. Like, I am perfectly happy. And if I'm like perfectly content here, then what's the point of playing this game that you're all playing? None of you are happy. So I think that's the question that's driving her through all of it. But she, like me reading it, especially during COVID and the collapse of everything, it's like, well, really, what do I owe the world? We're just born animals into the world. We don't really owe anything more than like a mosquito owes the world when it comes to just biology, or just sort of like this miraculous creation that, society has created, this abstract system that we're all supposed to fit into, but it's all completely made up, and COVID sort of exposed that. So I think that Misha's like breaking out of that.
And I think she feels isolated, for me at least,
Oh,
because of what you're talking about, where she feels one way, everyone around her feels another way. All the people that are supposed to love her and support her are really just making her feel alone. So for me, the film is asking, okay, then what? What do you do when the people that are supposed to see you don't see you, and so you feel alone?
Yeah, I'm so glad that both of you shared that, because you're right. We have kind of made up these social mores, rites of passage, whatever you may call it. I remember growing up and watching how miserable, or at least he seemed miserable, and maybe my kids would say the same thing about me. My dad was miserable coming home from his 9-to-5 job, and I remember just thinking, I want to delay that type of apathy, that type of misery, that type of come home and collapse on the couch in front of the news. I want to delay that. I kind of feel like that's my birthright, that I'm going to inherit that malaise, that sort of resigned, fine, I have a mortgage, I have bills, I kind of want to, I realize that that's probably inevitable, but I want to delay that as soon as possible. And I felt like moving to Hawaii was how I did that. Because when I moved to Hawaii, just like we were talking about earlier, Zoe, there is no, you're near the equator. The sun almost sets exactly in the sky year round. There is no daylight savings time. No one moves the clocks. The grass always stays green. The leaves don't turn colors and fall to the ground. There is kind of a timeless quality about Hawaii, and the years can pass. And if it wasn't for those Kona trade winds, and the ocean and the tides and things and the whales coming back in the winter, I would really have a hard time recognizing even differences in the seasons were it not for clocks and calendars. And so the years can swing by. And if you're happy, and it's like, if I'm happy, why do I have to? And you nailed this too, Mitzi. You said everyone that was her age seemed miserable and seemed unhappy. And I really relate to that because I'm like, yeah, what are you asking me to give up? You think that what you've got going on is appealing to me? So I love that Chaperone really explored that and pushes back and says, who says we all have to grow up? So
right. And what actually is,
what does that mean?
Yeah.
Something I was thinking so much about when we were shooting this movie, my dad had passed.
Oh, sorry.
2 years before.
Oh.
A year and a half before about. So that was driving, no, like a year before. And it was driving a lot of sort of my purpose for doing it and how my sort of personal ethics have changed and priorities. Yeah. My God, it's like when you're spending that kind of time with someone at the end, what is truly important? And this whole, like, watching everyone, just the way that we live life is we're trying so hard to write the story, to plan the story, when at the end it's like, no, that insane thing, that insane left turn my life took that had nothing to do with anything I had planned is sort of the story. So it's like planning the story versus living for the story at the end, where I've now become more of that mind. And Misha was so aligned with that for me.
Yep.
Like
That's
she's
so
just
good.
like open, receptive. Like what does the world have to show me and teach me, rather than I'm going to strong hand my way through this like narrative that I've made up.
You know, when I watched the film, there was one, I don't know if you've heard this yet, Zoe, in all the interviews and things, either one of you have heard this. When I watched the film, it reminded me, now it's a different kettle of fish, of course, but it reminded me of the 2008 film by Mike Leigh, the British director. He made a film with Sally Hawkins called Happy Go Lucky, and in which that character reminded me a lot of Misha. She was.
Mitzi gets so many Sally Hawkins.
I do.
Do you? Oh,
Yeah, not always that film.
She has this kind of, I mean, she's a very small stature,
yeah,
kind of impish, wide-eyed.
Yep. Big smile.
yeah.
Yep.
She's full of magic, Sally Hawkins.
She's fantastic. Anything that Sally Hawkins does, and she's great in that wonderful film, Bring Her Back, that horror film this year.
So good. Yep.
She should get a nomination, but they won't. They won't give her one. They probably won't. My gosh, if you have a chance to see Mike Leigh's Happy Go Lucky, there's very Misha adjacent characterizations going on there. And by the way, I loved Happy Go Lucky. I love Sally Hawkins' character. I love the whole idea. But if I can ask, Mitzi, how did you balance? I mean, you risk alienate. I mean, Zoe, this is for you as well. I mean, I think we risk, depending on the demographic of your audience, you almost risk alienating some, right? You can almost split them down the middle. There might be some people watching it going, a 29-year-old going on 30 shouldn't be dating a high school kid. I don't care. His prefrontal cortex isn't even formed. How is that even, that shouldn't be happening. And there's another of us that says, what the hell, let her live her life. Why not have a little bit of fun? He's not like he's underage. I mean, legally, there's nothing illegal going on here. So, I mean, I guess my question is how did you balance the tenderness and awkwardness and inappropriateness in your characterization of Misha? How did you pull that off? Because I think you did. I just would love to know your process.
I mean, a lot of it was just our chemistry in the first place, kind of perfectly cast. And I think a lot of it is also thanks to these chem reads we did before we cast Jake.
Which are on the internet. We've posted them on our Instagram.
Oh, really?
Right, but like he was written as a legitimately young looking to make me look like more of a predator.
Yep.
So the casting of Jake already sort of took care of a lot of the repulsion that probably a lot of the audience would feel.
Yeah.
So I wasn't alienating people because most people understood why a young woman, yes, much older, but a young woman would want to entertain this extremely attractive and adult looking man.
He's 6'4". Like he's
Holy
huge.
Cow.
Like he will take care of you. You know, he physically has all of the qualities that a woman who wants to be taken care of would seek.
Yep.
And that way he appears as like he's almost fatherly in his like
yes.
how much he can take care of you.
Yeah,
and then
Laird is statuesque. I mean, he looks like Duke Kahanamoku on Waikiki.
Very much.
Yeah.
I'm still growing, I bet.
Yeah.
He's like a puppy. But and then a lot of it is just playing the questions a lot.
Right.
Of in every moment there needs to be some teetering, decision making. Like is now and constantly am I telling him now? Am I going to tell him now?
Yep.
Am I going to tell him now? And then letting him sort of continue to bat it away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that continual, which, you know, I think I would have in real life, trying to play it as close to reality as possible. But also if I was just wrapped up in my chemistry with Laird, because we get along really well and play really well together. Remembering, for the movie, remember, Misha needs to have a moral center that won't disgust people too much. Like she needs to at least be asking herself this.
Right.
Yeah. And we did alienate a lot of people, and I alienated them much more in script stage than in the film, because like we're talking, Mitzi's so good in the film. We spend so much time with her alone, and we can tell how conflicted she feels just because, you know, Mitzi's such a talented performer and her emotions just come out on her face. But on the page, before that's there, you know, a lot of people were reading the script and being like, there's not enough tension. Your protagonist is completely unlikable. This was a story that women connected with a lot more on the page than men. Less now. Now when men see it and they can see Mitzi's portrayal of Misha, they understand. But on the page, when we were trying to send it around, we were trying to get support, men would be like, she doesn't want anything. There's no reason to root for her. And so she was alienating people. But I just had to trust. I was like, there's going to be so much tension in this film.
Yeah.
And Mitzi is so fantastic that these problems are going to go away. And I just had to kind of trust us to do that. We'd be able to do that. And we did.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with you. Your portrayal, Mitzi, was just, I mean, you took this role by the horns and you made it believable. You made it sympathetic. You did things in this role that I think would be challenging to any actress. And that is, you're playing a character that can so easily be unsympathetic to everyone watching. Mm-hmm. And yet you found the pathos. You found moments where I felt like the people around you, some of your peers, they were bad influences on you. I started to come, I was tilting to your side. I'm like going, yeah, your half-brother is kind of a jerk, and your coworker is kind of a jerk. They're always looking down their nose at you. I'm not sure you need these toxic influences in your life. They should just step back and say, live your life, do what makes you feel happy, as long as you don't hurt people.
Well, and that thing right there, that's the tragedy of the story for me, is that I don't think there's anything wrong with how Misha is living until she feels so isolated by other people's judgment that she begins to make terrible choices in order to preserve what makes her feel good, because there just isn't much in her life in terms of human connection that is making her feel seen and making her feel heard. And so when she meets this kid who mistakes her for her different age, but he is saying like, you're fucking awesome. She's like, yes,
how do you say no to that? Yeah.
Thank you. I am.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to feel good. It's got to feel good that you're not overlooked, because I think there's a quality, or at least something that was in your film that felt like You were okay with time moving on. You were okay staying at the same job at the art house cinema. You were okay living in this small kind of suburb of Hilo. You were okay. In other words, you were happy-go-lucky. You were okay with everything.
Yeah.
And then you meet somebody who says, I see you. I notice you. You have something that attracts me to you. That you've got this, I don't know, this joie de vivre, this joy of life. You've got something. And that feels, it's got to feel complimentary. And that goes for anybody that's ever fallen in love or had somebody whose head was turned by you. You know, it feels so complimentary. It feels warm. It feels great. And you captured that too, really well. This guy.
And it was a very cool role to play in the sense that I kind of get to be the optimist throughout the entire story. Yeah. Like I show up into every scene. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
What are you doing? And they're like, nah, nah, nah. And I'm like, I really do think that she's the most optimistic, hopeful sort of energy in the film.
Yeah.
Yes. I wanted to ask, is Chaperone a story about judgment or empathy?
Both. Yeah. I think I was trying to say both. And it's the decisions we make when we're feeling judged. And I want people to have empathy for Misha. I want them to understand her decisions, even if they wouldn't make them themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, it completely does. And I guess the question could go to you as well, Misha. I mean, what do you think this film is? I mean, is it really a story about judgment or empathy?
I mean, I think they're kind of two sides of the same coin. When you're not empathetic, you judge. Yeah. You're not empathetic. You anything that's different from you is frightening, and then you judge it and try to keep it far away from you, just sort of naturally. So I think that you see a lot of judgment happening on screen, characters who aren't taking the time to really understand Misha, her decisions, and then those watching the film too. Yeah. Either, if you can recognize, and I think everyone has been in some scenario that they can sort of twist just enough, or the exact same, I don't know, also not judging, that they can sort of expand expand what they're willing to accept based on the mistakes that they have made, surprising decisions that they've made, because everyone has done embarrassing things that, they sort of wake up from as if they were in a fugue state. You're like, no, that was you. You did that. You don't get to blame anyone else for that. You did that. You were there. You engaged in these things. And a lot of people are in really deep denial over that. And there's a lot of mental illness, I think, that comes from that, and anger and violence. So let's just accept that we all do stupid things, or not even stupid, just things to learn.
Villains don't ever feel like villains, I don't think. You rarely feel like the villain in your own story. And so I think Mitch and I both have that naturally. And I think that's part of why we connected over this story is, whenever I hear or see someone doing something really shitty, even if I can acknowledge it's really shitty, I'm like, what made them make that choice? Because something made them make that choice, and what was it? And it was likely a very human emotion, because we all have the same set of feelings.
Yeah, I was going to
rationalize any horrible behavior, and all. It's like a sickness that I have. And
even the influences around you, your coworker and your brother in the film, I felt that at times they were toxic. This constant belittling of you, or looking down on you, or trying to make you feel like you were lesser than them. But I felt like maybe they're rationalizing that, because what's underpinning what they're trying to do for you is something they feel is lacking in themselves. Either your brother started a family when he was too young and has regrets. Either your coworker accepted too much responsibility at a younger age and looks at Misha and says, that's not fair. She has not a care in the world, and frankly, people her age should have a lot more to worry about. And so I think that could be, and I'm kind of speaking in defense of them, because I think that might be why they've rationalized giving you advice you didn't solicit for.
Yeah. And there's also, Kenzie, who's played by Jessica Jade Andrews,
she's great. Yeah.
fantastic. And it's not only judgment, but it's also she needs help. You know, she wants Misha to take on more responsibility so that she can have help with her workload. And, you know, from Misha's perspective, she's like, that's not really my problem. And she's right, you know.
Yeah.
It's a different type of perspective, but she's not wrong.
Perfect. That's so well said. I had to ask because you're responsible, Zoe, for the script and, of course, what ends up on screen. Was there a particular scene or a moment that you envisioned on the page that played out a lot differently on the screen?
Yes. I'm trying to think about, I mean, winnowing it down to one thing. I think,
Sure.
you know, Mitz touched on Jake's casting already, and I think that in general was so different because Jake was written as more baby-faced and more youthful looking, and then while we were casting, we found Laird, who brought this entirely different element to the character, and that Laird has looked 25 since he was 17. So just adding that different ingredient changed everything about the script on screen. So that was a surprise during casting.
I'll bet it was.
Yeah, and I'll add that my rapport with my dear Princess Diana cat was not meant to be quite so fraught. It was meant to be one of the few relationships that I have in the movie that is truly, you know, mutually accepting and loving.
Are you saying that Princess Diana was misbehaved on set?
Misbehaved isn't quite the right word. Just, you know, a little more skittish, perhaps.
She was 21 years old, that cat, you know, Zoya Marie Johnson, that's the cat's full name.
Okay.
Has unfortunately since left us, but
Aww.
yeah, she was deaf, almost completely deaf, due to her old age. And so, yeah, so I think that...
And not a show cat.
Yeah. So she was like, what are you guys doing with me? You know, we had Humane Society on set, so she was, her owners were on set, so she was safe and loved the whole time. But yeah, you know, imagine it from an untrained cat's perspective, where she's like, why is this woman picking me up and carrying me away again? We just did this. Yeah. So getting lots of scratches and hisses that we weren't necessarily intending to happen in the film.
Which honestly, I think adds to the depth of the tragedy of Misha's life. Even her own cat.
It's like,
you better.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be such a funny film for a cat to just be like, what the hell is happening to me? People are picking me up. There's machines, there's lights. What's going on?
None of it is normal.
Yeah. That's crazy. I guess I know this is your fourth film, right, Zoe? Am I right? This is your fourth feature film that you've either directed or co-directed?
It's the first one I've ever directed myself. I did co-directed one feature before. It's the fourth I've produced, so I think that's what you're. Yeah.
Oh.
I came at this first as a writer into filmmaking, and then I moved into producing, and then I co-directed a film with my partner who is also a director, but I was brought in to co-direct that during production. I think we're on day 4 of production, so I didn't develop that film at all. I didn't do the director's prep. He did that. So you know, is the first one that is my own kind of singular voice and vision, and that I prepared to direct from the beginning.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. I do my best to cyber stalk all my guests a little bit, you know, go to IMDb, maybe a wiki page and go, what have they done? What have they been in? Wait a minute. Mitzi was in an episode of Fallout on Amazon. I'm like, no way. My wife and I love that show. And
instantly dead.
Yeah. Instantly dead. That's okay. It's okay. It was a fabulous death scene. I have to watch it again.
It's such a special scene. It is delightful to shoot. Yeah.
It was very Shakespearean. It was very, very. But so I appreciate you clarifying that. Sometimes the internet doesn't always tell you the correct answer, but yeah.
Well, it is confusing and it is nuanced. It's not clear. So
it also lies sometimes.
It does lie sometimes. Yeah. And the screen always adds 10 pounds too. So as you can see, I mean, I'm much more Fabio looking than this. Anyway, I wanted to ask you, Zoe, what making this film has done for your voice as a director. I mean, you've had this experience, you've envisioned it from script, from page to screen. And what has this experience done for you as a director and helping you find your voice or whatever that may be?
I think it's just giving me some more confidence. There were a lot of things, we've already touched on some of them in the script. People were like, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. At the ending, which we haven't talked about, was a huge pushback. Everyone but my producer, Allison Week, who was always, as a good producer does, championing me and being like, nope, this is a tragedy. This is why it's this way, But everyone else was kind of like, this is not going to work. And you're going to see this isn't going to work. And the fact that it did work, not only did it work, but these are the things that people applaud now when they talk about the film. It's the ending. It's the extreme tension. Even though we spend so much time with just, Misha alone thinking about her choices. And so I think that that's just given me a lot of confidence because, if you're not an asshole, when you're first starting out, you don't think you have all the answers because you don't have all the answers. So I didn't know that these things were going to work. I just had to trust myself. And so having been able to trust myself and then pull it off, I think has just given me more confidence.
Wow. That's so brilliant. And no, we haven't really talked about the ending. We've been vague about certain things because I would like my listeners to check this film out. It is on video on demand. I believe you can get it at Apple. Is that right? Maybe Apple and Apple and Amazon and these places. And so we don't want to spoil everything, but that ending.
Yeah.
Wow. For a series of unfortunate events and then the ending. I mean, after that ending, Misha, what do you hope audiences take away from the story with your character?
I think the experience that I think I would like to be instilled in people, though I think it's mostly upsetting.
Yeah.
Well, first, I like that everybody just projects the ending, of course, naturally. Right. But for me also that it's a process. Growing up is a process. We can't expect, this story takes place over not that long of a time. How much can we actually expect a person to change? It's not going to happen like that. It's going to be incremental. It's often not that visible to the people closest to it, but the person actually experiencing it is constantly undergoing what I think undergoing these sort of mini epiphanies where they think, at last, I've learned everything there is to learn. I'm the smartest I have ever been. I am so wise. I know exactly what to do. I am good. I have a plan. And then you go and live out that plan. And then, a week later, a month later, a year later, you look back at that person. You're like, what an idiot. Nothing. And to me, it's just another step along that sort of phase of how to grow up, how to be a better person, how to actually recognize what you want, how to get, and that also, we backstep all the time. Just, it's not going to, a non-linear, and I'm giving away too much now.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
But just she makes a decision. She thinks the decision is right, as we all like to think that all of our decisions are rationalizable. And it's not perfect.
Right.
Yeah. We can't expect it to be perfect. It will probably never be perfect. What even is that?
Yeah. Yep.
It's just whatever works for certain people. She very well, I want to talk more about it, but I can't mention who's there, what happens, what I'm wearing.
Yeah, because even what you're wearing, there's definitely a shift. There's been a bit of a time jump. I hope it's not been like a week, but there's a bit of a time jump, and you seem like you've become a different person. I'm trying to speak in generalities as much as I can because Zoe, I seriously want them to see your film.
There's been some evolution, yeah.
Yeah, there's been a change. There's been a change, and I'm not sure. And that the ending left me conflicted because I'm like, I was kind of with you, like, screw society, screw social mores. Screw, all of these traditions and these cultural traditions trying to superimpose themselves on your social development. And who makes the rules anyway? And so there was a part of me that's like, live your truth, be yourself. And then when you made these changes and the last scene comes, I was like, huh. But then where you're walking, I was like, hey, wait a minute. There's a little
Yeah.
bit of, so there
Well,
was like, yeah,
yeah. Again, a litmus test because
yeah,
certain people wanted to end one way, and then certain people. I think you and I and Mitz are more kindred in our interests in, like, I'll call it a European ending.
yes.
But, and also I think that there has been, not to make this about gender, I think there's been a lot less opportunity to watch women making these stories than men. I just rewatched, actually, last night, my favorite Coen brothers film is Inside Llewyn Davis. I rewatched it. It's so good. But it's about this guy who's an asshole. You still like him because you see him trying really hard, but he is an asshole, and he is hurting the people around him. On his path, and he ends, again, not to give it away, but it's also tragedy, so he ends kind of where he begins. And for them, they made a really specific structural choice to kind of underscore that. And when it came out, I don't think there were that many people that were like, why would I watch a movie about an asshole, because we got it. But we get that, for some people, they respond to Misha that way. Why would I watch a movie about an asshole? I'm like, yeah.
Why the Coen brothers have built their career on this?
Yes.
Paul Thomas, like the most brilliant filmmakers that everyone has so much respect for. These auteurs, Scorsese, all assholes.
But there has been
so watchable. We want to watch assholes. We want to watch people so driven in their own demented reality that they just completely bulldoze.
I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, is there anything remotely entertaining about watching boring, prosaic 9-to-5 people pencil pushers?
Yeah.
No.
And I will say we had a lot of pushback on the ending. That ending is pretty similar to how it was written in the script, and we had so much pushback, and we had all the, when I say so much pushback, it's like, even with really baby indie micro budget films, you still have to get people to give you money. And so we had to send this script around to the people that were going to give us money, and they were like, okay, but if it's a slacker film, then at the end she needs to not be a slacker. They want this very formulaic, they think they want that. And so I actually wrote an ending that's just slightly different, but a little bit more formulaic. And we shot that ending. It's not that different, but it gives you a little something different. We shot that ending because I knew that I had director's cut, and I knew that I didn't have to keep that ending. So we shot it just to make people happy, and then we got rid of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is really cool. Yeah. That's really good. I think the ending, I love open endings like that. I love endings that are kind of open-ended like that. Because whether it's The Graduate, of course, Buck Henry's The Graduate, they're sitting on the bus and they're just driving off, and that look on their face like, what now?
Zoe, are you the one who told me about the ending? You are, right?
Yes, but Joe, have you read? So The Graduate was one of the inspiring films for this movie because
really,
because I, like Mitz, I have a literature background, and I'm also a novelist, so I came into filmmaking from So when I read The Graduate, I was like, Benjamin Braddock is such an asshole, and Mrs. Robinson is so unexplored. Like, who is this woman? She's clearly backed into a corner. She's making terrible choices, but there's a reason, and we're never given anything about it. And the movie, the same. Dustin Hoffman, gives us a little bit of a softer Benjamin Braddock than the novel. He's such an asshole in the novel. But at the same time, we get no information about Mrs. Robinson. We don't even get her first name. And so the first few drafts of the script and the way I was pitching it at first was like, this is a reimagined version of The Graduate told from the perspective of a very different Mrs. Robinson. And we ended up going in a different direction, but a lot of the themes of the film are still true to that, societal pressure, what we expect from the young, this kind of feeling of malaise, the terrible choices you make when you're suffering under it. And so I'm excited that you mentioned The Graduate, but yes, you're right, where in the film version, they just keep the cameras rolling and you're given something entirely different.
Wow. Yeah.
What you had said is that it wasn't like a scripted ending.
No.
They just kept rolling.
Yeah.
And they didn't know if they were done or not. So that was just the actors
they didn't hear cut.
Yeah.
So they just stayed there, and the camera slowly pulls back. It's a brilliant ending. And when I think about the ending to Chaperone, obviously there's some different things going on, but I'm like, that's what I like. I'm like, what do you think? Now you write your ending in your own head. What happens next? And I like that you left the door open. You kind of satisfied both people, really, Zoe.
Yes.
That's so brilliant. That's so brilliant.
I wrote a really nerdy, it feels to me like going back to college, like a really nerdy essay that's on the internet about how The Graduate inspired Chaperone. And there are even a few shots like of Misha looking through the fence that were like directly shot for shot inspired by The Graduate. And even in the film, Mrs. Robinson, they made her, you know, she's such a predator. So she's always dressed in leopard print, all of these plants that we're filming her through. So we also pulled a lot of that into it. If you go back, like Mitzi's backpack has a leopard print strap. Just like there's like all of these little nods to it. Only if you're a nerd. Like
this. I'm so glad we uncovered this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let me just say this. And I'm not trying to speak down to anybody, but not enough people have seen The Graduate. Not enough people.
Yep.
You need to see this film.
Yeah.
The Graduate is brilliant. Just a brilliant film. The more I think about it, now you've got me thinking about The Graduate, and you've got me now thinking a little bit more about Chaperone, and now I'm making even more little connections. Oh yeah. Now I'm going to have to see Chaperone again. That's awesome. Well, listen, I have enjoyed talking to the two of you, even though we had some technical difficulties. That is the way of the internet sometimes. Zoe, thank you so much for your time today in Hawaii. You come to us from the Big Island, and Mitzi, thanks so much for your time from New York. Thank you so much. You two are extremely talented. Is there anything that you guys are working on next? Do you think you guys would work together again? Because you guys are like peanut butter and jelly. It just worked very well together.
Would love to.
Yeah.
We both talk about that. I don't know what the project is yet, but definitely a yes. Yeah.
That's awesome.
1,000 times yes.
Are any of you working on something now that you can mention, or is it still?
I am adapting. I had a novel that came out in 2014. It came out a week apart from Chaperone's festival premiere, which was wild. It is set in Hilo. It is called Significant Others, and it is also about two women behaving very terribly. So, and it's actually, I'm adapting it right now in partnership with Storm City Films. They just did Hedda. They did History of Sound. So, and that will be shot in Hilo. I don't know if I will direct it, but either way, it will hopefully be made into a movie in the next few years. So go ahead and read the book if you, I think you Joe, and if people like Chaperone, then they would like the ending. Also infuriates everyone. So, yeah.
Oh, it's such a brilliant and beautiful book, and I've been busy and will remain busy telling everyone I know to read your book, which I still am. Johnny just started it. It's my boyfriend. My mom just finished it. I don't know if my aunt has written you yet, but she read it and is passing along the word.
I would love to talk to your aunt.
Yeah. Otherwise,
I'll have to
I'm
check it out.
To 3 features that are looking for money. So that's the state of things these days, and auditioning, actor's life.
Yeah.
Embracing every moment, living for the story.
Write you about Mitz. I'm going to write you about asking about those features in a minute. But yes, continue.
Right.
Yeah.
So good and needs to be in more things. So yeah.
I second that. Let me work.
Yeah. Yes, she does.
It's such a weird industry. Just gets weirder and weirder.
It does.
No AI actors, please.
Yeah, please no AI actors.
Just me.
Well, thank you very much, Zoë Eisenberg from Hawaii. You've been such a great guest. And Mitzi Akaha, thank you so much for joining us from New York. I'm excited about where both of your careers are going. Zoë, I can't wait to get my hands on your book. I would love to read it. And Mitzi, I wish you sincerely the best with those 3 films that you're looking for financing for. And to anyone listening to this, if you work in the industry and you have not yet seen Chaperone, I urge you to check it out. You're going to see a very talented director and writer in Zoë, and you're going to see a very talented and equally skilled performance from Mitzi in this role as Misha. It's a fantastic film. It has a lot to say, and I urge you to check it out. You can own it now. Video on demand. You can get it where you get any film, whether it's Apple or Amazon. So I urge you to get that. For my listeners, thank you for being here this week. I've got another exciting writer and director coming back. And actually, he will be on the podcast next week. He made a film, I believe it was in Switzerland. It's called So Torn. And the word so is spelled S-E-W. So you're going to want to check that out. Great film. I'm looking forward to bringing Freddie McDonald in for that. I always talk about mental health and how important it is. And I think mental health discussions need to increase. They need to increase, especially around the holiday time. We know that's a particularly difficult time for family, especially if you're spending this time alone. You shouldn't. I hope you find the people that love you the best, believe in you the most, and unconditionally love you. I hope you put down whatever grievances or differences you might have with these people, be they political or religious. Put those away and go spend some time with people that love you, because that's very, very important. And I leave that message with you, and I thank everyone here for being with us today. And I can't wait to see you next week, and welcome to December. Hold on tightly, because we've got a crazy December on the Fixate and Binge podcast. See you next week. Bye-bye.